let's go mulai belajar. Kita mau review dulu. Review pakai Anki. Mari kita review study now. UTP. Good. That access client. Adding additional headers and trailer before encapsulation. Switch. It will connect PC and switch straight through. Reassemble data between end host. Application, presentation, sessions, transport. Arrow2.i. I mean arrow2.3i. Again. Presentation, session, transport network. Session, transport network. Good. What kind of advanced combination part and application? Fiber allow multi-angle, multi-mode. Connector RJ45, which 4 pin are used in 1000 base and 10 G base. 4 pin 1, 2, 3, 6, 4, 5, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 6, 4, 5, 1, 7, 8. Good. Symbol firewall. A fast router transmit data on which pin? Router 1 and 2. Routers have fewer or less. Yeah. Listen, presentation, sessions, transport. I say model 7. Application. So application, presentation, session. And host to connect to switch. Fast Ethernet router receives data on which pin? 3 and 6. How many bits are 1 gigabit? 1 million? No, 1 billion. 1 miliar. Application, presentation, session. 10 gigabit range were defined in arrow2.ae, which allow longer cable single mode or multi-mode. Single mode. Send data over the internet router. Monitor and control based on configured rules. Firewall. Ethernet was already defined in the IEEE arrow2.3, which are the wire pairs in a UTP cable twisted. The wire pairs in YRO to protect from the electromagnetic interference or EMI. What does UTP stand for? An unshielded twisted pair. Connection both device to send receive data. A full duplex represent a server. Fast Ethernet, a switch receive data on which pin? Switch receive data on 1, 2. Is a device that provides function or service for client server. IEEE standard arrow2.an. Sorry, 1 gigabits. AB. If auto MDIX is disabled, what kind of means should be used to connect two switches together? Crossover. What is the speed of fast Ethernet? Fast Ethernet 10 megabits per second. What? Fast Ethernet is okay again. Which networking model was developed by United States Defense Department of Defense TCP/IP suite? What kind of cable connect pin pair on one end and same pair on a straight through? Application presentation, session, transport, network data link, physical. Which allow nodes. Which two pin pairs are used in two pin pair? Pin pair is 1, 2, 3, 6. What kind of cable connects a pin pair on one end of the UTP cable to the opposite pair? Crossover. How many bits in 1 byte? 8. What kind of network device is a catalyst? Catalyst is switch. In blah 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 fiber cable, light travels through the core at a single angle, single mode. OSI model internet layer, internet, so it should be the network. Which layer of the net process to process communication application? Which layer of the net process node to node connectivity? Data link. Which layer of ions detect and correct physical layer? Data link. Host to host communication. Host to host communication. Host to host application, presentation, session. Transport. Short range 10 gigabase, short range maximum cable length, short range 400 meter. Network speed animation bits per second. Can a single device boot client? Yes. Layer 3 PDU, layer 3 bits, frame, packet. Packet. How many pairs of wire used in 100 base T cable? 100 base T, 2 pairs. ER extra range 30 kilometers. OSI divided into 7 layers. A PC receive data on pin 3 and 6. How many bits are 1 megabit? 1 million. In a fast internet connection, a PC transmit data on which pin 1 and 2? Which layer of internet process connected to the end host on different network? To end host on different networks. So network 100 base 100 megabits 802 dot wait u 802.3u. Open system interconnection. Connectivity should be used to connect to router crossover as well as host and endpoint, server and client. Which layer ICT-based application? What is the name of feature that allow device to automatically adjust RJ? Is auto MDIX. Logical addressing network. And then router and switch, straight through. LAN, local area network. Which layer provide path selection between source and destination network? Which layer terminates connection between local and remote application? Session. LX maximum cable length 550 for multi-mode cables and then 5 km for single mode cable. Which layer OSI software application? Application. Layer 1 PDU bits. Interaction on different device. Same layer. Then it's same layer. Client 1 terabit 1 trillion. Firewall next generation firewall. Firewall transmit data on pin 1 and 2. What is the speed of Ethernet connection? 1 megabits 10 megabits per second. Blah 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 provides connectivity to host within the same LAN. Switch. What is cheaper? Multimode. Which layer of WAN translate between data format? Transport. Presentation. Hard again. What is the name of the layer for PDU? Segment. Application synchronization. Application. What is the speed of 10 gig Ethernet connection? 10 gigabits per second. LX LX defined in 802.3z. Detailing physical link layer. Fiber optic are connected to SFP transceiver. Which network is used in modern TCP/IP? Cisco Firepower firewall. 1000 base T. How many pairs? 4 pairs. What are two kinds? Single mode, multi mode. 802.3an. Multi mode have a wider. What is the name of layer 2 PDU? Layer 2 frame. In CCNA, firewall receive data on which pin? Firewall receive data 36. How many bits? 1 kilobit, 1000. 100 meters. Long range 10 kilometers. The process of removing headers and trailer, de-encapsulation. What kind of Cisco ASA firewall? RJ45, 8 pins. TCP/IP, network internet, router, firewall, filter, firewall. Wait. Oh, host space. My bad. Again. Fan signal, UTP. What is speed? Gigabit Ethernet, 1 gigabit per second. Switch over layer 2. 802.3 802.3i. How many pairs used in 10 base T cable? 10 base, 2 pairs, 4 wires. 10 gigabit, 4 pairs, 8 wires. Which layer of the OSI define physical character medium? Physical layer. Session, transport, network data link. Port network data link. Routers, layer 3. Internet between the same device, different of adjacent layer. What kind of network? ISR. R means router. Transport, then it's also transport. Link layer, data link and physical. Transport, also transport. Good. In fast Ethernet connection, a switch transmit data on pin transmit 3 and 6. Speed fast Ethernet 100 megabits per second. Which layer of the OSI translate between data formats? Application, presentation. Good. Firewall are software filter, host space. Okay, good. Finish that. Nggak ada yang perlu di-review lagi. Bye-bye.
Welcome to my complete CCNA Cisco Certified Network Associate course. This is Jeremy's
Lab.
Welcome to Jeremy's IT Lab. This is a free, complete course for the CCNA 200-301. If you like these videos, please subscribe to follow along with the series. Also, please like and leave a comment, and share the video to help spread this free series of videos. But first, network traffic using Packet Tracer's simulation mode feature. But first, let's take a look at the network diagram. There are two routers, R1 and R2, two switches, switch 1 and switch 2, and one server and one PC. The G00, G01, G02, and F01 labels indicate the network interfaces used to connect the devices. G means gigabit Ethernet, so these interfaces operate at a speed of 1 gigabit per second. You might also see it written as GI or GIG, but I usually just use G. F means fast Ethernet. So these interfaces operate at 100 megabits per second. You might also see it written as FA instead of just F. Now these two series of numbers here, 192.168.1.0/24 and 10.0.0.0/24 are the network addresses. Routers are used to connect different networks. There are two networks displayed here in this diagram. The one on the left here includes server 1, PC 1, switch 1, switch 2, and R1's G00 interface. They are all in a single network, or subnet, a term you will learn about soon. So that's the 192.168.1.0/24 network, and the .100 for server 1 means that its IP address is 192.168.1.100. And the .1 by R1 means that its address is 192.168.1.1. Wait for the lesson about IP addresses coming up soon for more information on this topic. The other network is 10.0.0.0/24, consisting of R1's G01 interface and R2's G00 interface. Notice the .1 and .2. So R1 is 10.0.0.1 and R2 is 10.0.0.2. Hopefully that helps you understand a little bit about how to read a network diagram. Don't worry if you have no idea how IP addresses work or what that /24 next to the network addresses means. That will all be explained in a video coming soon. So let's get started on today's main topic. I'm going to use Packet Tracer Simulation Mode, which you can activate here in the bottom right. Now I can click through here.
Open. Document Learning CCNA Lab 3.
And you can see various network traffic being sent around. Let's take a look at some. At device switch 2 means that switch 2 is the one sending out the data. It says type STP. STP is the spanning tree protocol, a layer 2 protocol you'll learn a lot about in this course. Let's click on it and notice here the 7 layers about is the data. At Tracer's Simulation Mode, which you can activate here in the bottom right. Now I can click through here and you can see various network traffic being sent around. Let's take a look at some. At device switch 2
STP.
means that switch 2 is the one sending out the data. It says type STP. STP is the spanning tree protocol, a layer 2 protocol you'll learn a lot about in this course.
Layer what?
Protocol. A layer 2 protocol you'll learn a lot about in this course. Let's click on it and notice here the 7 layers of the OSI model, and STP has information in the bottom 2 layers. Let's look at the layer 2 header. Notice it says layer 2 IEEE 802.3 header. You might remember that IEEE 802.3 is the standard number for Ethernet. So this is an Ethernet layer 2 header. Let's look at some of the information here. Down here it shows some information about the process, and notice here at number 2, the device encapsulates the PDU into an Ethernet frame. There's the encapsulation process I talked about in the lecture video. Let's take a look at the layer 1 info. Notice that the information is the 2 interfaces that it sends the frame out of. Information like the physical ports or interfaces on a device are layer 1 information, because it is the physical layer. Now let's look at another bit of network traffic again. This time at device R1, and the type is OSPF. OSPF is a layer 3 protocol. It's used to discover the best paths to different networks. You'll learn a lot about it, too, in this course. STP only had Layer 2 and Layer 1 information, but OSPF has Layer 3, Layer 2, and Layer 1 information. Notice in the Layer 3 header, source IP address and destination IP address. Remember, IP addresses are Layer 3 information. Next, to look at some traffic that includes information all the way up to Layer 7, I will go on PC1.
And we're back with March Sadness, and the team is looking down the barrel of a 4:55 meeting.
Release and renew PC1 address to generate some later.
PC1 is using a protocol called DHCP to automatically receive an IP address. To generate some DHCP traffic, and DHCP is a Layer 7 protocol, I'll get PC1 to release its current IP address and then renew it. When you click on a PC in Packet Tracer, you'll see this screen. Click on Desktop, then Command Prompt to access the PC's command prompt, which functions like a Windows command prompt. Type ipconfig, and you can see the current IP address here. To release the IP address, type ipconfig/release. And now you can already see a DHCP message on PC1. I'll type the next command too, to renew the IP address. It's ipconfig/renew. Now let's check one address, PC1/release. And now you IP address, type ipconfig/release. And now you can already see a DHCP message on PC1. I'll type the next command too, to renew the IP address. It's ipconfig/renew. Now let's check one of these DHCP messages. Notice information all the way up to Layer 7, except Layers 5 and 6. That's because in the TCP IP model, which is the model actually in use, Layers 5, 6, and 7 are all combined into a single layer called the application layer. So you're not going to see any Layer 5 or Layer 6 information, but you can consider it to be part of the Layer 7 information. Then there is Layer 4 information. If we click on it, it says the device encapsulates the PDU into a UDP segment. Remember, the Layer 4 PDU is called a segment. Layer 3, Layer 2, and Layer 1 information is present as well. Now, if I just press the play button in the middle, it will slowly play through all of the different messages being sent through the network. That's all for this lab. I just wanted to show you the OSI and TCP IP models at work on a network. Your understanding of the functions of these layers might still be a little unclear, but trust me, you'll understand things better as we start to actually learn about these different protocols that operate at each layer.
Okay, easy.
Thank you for watching. That's all for this video. If you want to show your support, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and share the video with anyone else studying for the CCNA. And share the video with anyone else studying for the CCNA. Welcome to Jeremy's IT Lab. This is a complete course for the CCNA. including everything you need to pass the exam, all 100% free. Make sure you stay tuned till the end of the video for the quiz to test your knowledge of the material in this video. Also, remember to download and use the Anki flashcards with the link in the description, which will help you very much in your studies. Let's get started. In this fourth lesson, we will finally get started actually configuring some Cisco devices. This lesson is about the Cisco iOS CLI. Cisco iOS is the operating system used on Cisco devices, like Windows on a PC or macOS on an iMac. Keep in mind, Cisco's iOS is not related to Apple's iOS for iPhones. Now, what is a CLI? CLI stands for Command Line Interface. It's the interface you use to configure Cisco devices, like routers, switches, and firewalls. Here's an image of the Cisco iOS CLI. The color scheme can be changed. This is just the default color scheme with the software I used when taking this screenshot. Now, there is also something called a GUI, which means Graphical User Interface. Here's an example of a Cisco GUI, from Cisco's ASDM, which can be used to configure Cisco's firewalls. However, we won't cover GUIs in this course, and most network engineers prefer to use the CLI over a GUI. Now, how exactly do you connect to a Cisco device to configure it with a CLI? There are a couple methods, but I'm going to talk about connecting via the console port. Connecting to a device via the console port typically involves bringing your laptop to the device and connecting to the console port of the device. There are also methods to connect to a device remotely, but we'll cover that later. In any case, when you first configure a device, you have to connect to the console port. This is an image of a Cisco Catalyst switch, and notice the two console ports. One of them is an RJ45 port, just like the switch's network ports. The other is a USB Mini B connector. You can connect to either of these, but let's say we're going to connect to the RJ45 port. You're going to need the proper cable. This is the kind of cable you will use. Notice one end has an RJ45 connector, just like the Ethernet UTP cables we looked at. The other end is a DB9 connector. However, most laptops these days no longer have a serial port to plug the cable into, so you'll probably need an adapter, like this, to connect to a USB port on your laptop. The actual name of the cable on the left is rollover cable. The name is similar to a crossover cable, but it's different than an Ethernet UTP crossover cable. Like in an Ethernet UTP cable, there are 8 pins on each end that are used. However, they connect like this. Pin 1 to pin 8, pin 2 to pin 7, pin 3 to pin 6, pin 4 to pin 5, pin 5 to pin 4, pin 6 to pin 3, pin 7 to pin 2, and pin 8 to pin 1. So, once you've connected your computer to the device, how do you actually access the CLI? Well, you need to use a terminal emulator. This one here, PuTTY, is a popular choice. You can get it at putty.org. Select Serial here, and then click Open, and you should be connected to the CLI. You should be able to connect with the default settings, but click Serial down here, and you can view and edit the default settings for the serial connection. Note that these settings match the defaults on Cisco devices, so you'll probably never have to change them, but it's good to be aware of them and try to remember them for the test. The speed, also known as baud rate, is 9,600 bits per second. There are 8 data bits, and 1 stop bit. Understanding data bits and stop bits is outside of the scope of the CCNA, but basically it means that for each 8 bits of data, 1 stop bit is sent to mark the end of the 8 bits. Parity is set to none. Parity is used to detect errors. And finally, flow control is set to none. Flow control is exactly what it sounds like, controlling the flow of data from transmitter to receiver. But again, you don't have to worry about the details for the exam. Just remember Cisco's defaults. Speed of 9,600 bits per second, 8 data bits, 1 stop bit, no parity, and no flow control. Once you connect to the device, you will be greeted with a screen like this. Since this is the first time booting up the device, I am asked if I would like to enter the initial configuration dialog, and I answer no. Then I press the Enter key to get started, and now I'm free to type commands into the CLI. When you first enter the CLI, you will by default be in what's called User Exec mode. User Exec mode is indicated by the greater than sign next to the hostname of the device. Note that the default hostname for this device is router. The text displayed here always indicates the hostname of the device. All devices have a hostname, and for a Cisco router, the default name is router. User Exec mode is very limited. Users can look at some things, but can't make any changes to the configuration. Usually, you don't do anything in this mode. You also might hear it called just user mode. So let's move to a mode with a little more power to make changes to the device. If you enter the enable command in user exec mode, you will be placed in privileged exec mode. In privileged exec mode, a pound sign or hashtag, whatever you want to call it, is displayed. Privileged exec mode provides complete access to view the device's configuration, restart the device, etc. This is not the mode in which you actually change the configuration. However, you can change the time on the device and also save the current configuration file, among many other things. This is a comparison of the commands available in user exec mode on the left and privileged exec mode on the right. Also, I'm taking these screenshots from Cisco Packet Tracer software. Packet Tracer is a network simulator. It is a fantastic resource for the CCNA, but it is limited beyond the CCNA. There are many things which Packet Tracer doesn't support. So if I were to show these commands on a real device, you would probably see even more commands available here. I want to repeat, however, that Packet Tracer is an excellent resource for the CCNA, and you don't really need to use anything else for your CCNA. One more thing. Notice the command I used to view the available commands. You can use a question mark to view the commands that are available to you. Now I want to show you a convenient feature of the CLI. That is the tab key. In the sample output here, notice the first line says EN, the second says enable, and then I entered privileged exec mode. Well, if you press tab, the CLI will automatically complete the word need to complete them. This can really save you a lot of typing when you're entering many commands. There are limits to this, however. Although EN was a lot of typing when you're entering many commands, and hit enter. However, another convenient thing is that you don't even need to complete the command. Here I just typed EN many commands. Use the command enable. That's because it's the only command that begins with EN that can be entered in user exec mode. If I type just E, however, we are told, how can we view the command? It displays the possible commands that begin with E. Therefore, which command I want command would be, so we enter global configuration mode. The command to enter global configuration mode is configure terminal. When in global configuration mode, config is inserted after the hostname. Once again, you don't have to type the whole word. Notice I type con, followed by the question mark, and there are two options, configure and connect. So the shortest possible command for configure is conf, C-O-N-F. However, terminal is the only option beginning with T, so all I need to type is conf T to enter global configuration mode. From now on, in all of my lab demonstrations and such, I will probably be typing conf T instead of configure terminal. Try to remember that the full command is configure terminal, but also feel free to use the shortcuts. Now, we don't want just anyone to be able to make changes to the network configuration, or even be able to just look at the configuration, because that could be a security risk. We can protect privileged exec mode with a password, so that if a user enters the enable command from user exec mode, they are asked for the password. That is done with the command enable password in global configuration mode. First, I want to clarify the use of the question mark. Notice that I use the question mark with no space after password. Here is the output. If you use the question mark with no space, it shows you all possible completions of that word. I already typed the full word password, so it just displays the word again, and there are no other words that begin with P-A-S-S-W-O-R-D. Next, I use the question mark again, this time with a space after password. Notice the difference in the output. This time it shows all possible options we could enter next in the command. In this case, I used the middle one. Notice that line is in all capital letters. That means you don't actually type line, L-I-N-E, you type a line, which will become the password. I typed CCNA in all capitals as the password. Note that passwords are case sensitive, so CCNA in capital letters and CCNA in lowercase letters are different passwords. Once again, I type the question mark to check if there are any further options. This CR means that there are no further options. The only option is to press enter to enter the command. I pressed enter. And now the password is set. Let's test it. So let's test out our password. I type exit to return to privileged exec mode. From privileged exec mode, if I type exit again, I am logged out of the device and see the starting screen again. If I press enter here, I am brought back to user exec mode. If I enter the enable command, I am asked for a password. No password security purposes. Also, note that if you enter the wrong password 3 times, you will be denied access for having bad secrets. I think everyone has bad secrets of some kind, but in this case, it means an incorrect password. Let's review what we've done so far. In my experience, it was difficult to get used to operating in the CLI when I first started learning, so we'll take it slow and review along. Hands-on practice is absolutely essential to get comfortable with the CLI. I use configure terminal to enter global config protect privileged exit. First, I want to explain at once. One is the running config. This is the current active configuration file on the device. As you enter commands in the CLI, you edit the active configuration. The startup config is the configuration file that will be loaded upon restart. Will be loaded. And in global configuration mode. So let's take a look at the configuration files. Use the show running config command in global configuration mode to view the running configuration file. There is lots of data in the file by default, so I only included the output up to the command we entered in file. Use the show running config command in global configuration mode to view the running configuration file. There is lots of data in the file by default, so I only included the output up to the command we entered. Here's the command: enable password CCNA in the running config. Command with running configuration files. Use the show running config command in global configuration mode to view the running configuration file. There is lots of data in the file by default, so I only included the output up to the command we entered. Here's the command: enable password CCNA in the running config. How about the startup config? You can view it with the show startup config command. However, as you can see at this point, it just displays the message startup config is not present. This is because we haven't saved the running configuration yet. So every time we restart the router, it would load a default configuration, not the startup configuration. Let's save the configuration file. There are actually 3 ways you can save the running configuration to make it the startup configuration. All 3 of these commands are executed from privileged exec mode. The first is write. It says building configuration, and then an OK message to indicate that the configuration was saved. The second method is write memory. It performs the same function. The third command is copy running config startup config. This tells the router to copy the running config file to the startup config file, again performing the same function as the previous 2 commands. Now, if I use the show startup config command again, it displays the same configuration as the show running config command. Once again, however, this is only the beginning of the output. There is more below. We'll check it out in the Packet Tracer Lab video coming up next. Now, you can see the enable password right here in plain text. This is a security risk, because anyone who simply takes a glance at this password knows how to get into privileged exec mode, and then global configuration mode to make changes to the device. Let's level up the security a bit. You can do so with the service password encryption command in global configuration mode. Notice I used the short version of configure terminal, conft, to enter global configuration mode. Remember that all of these commands have shortcuts. I'll usually use the full command for these instructional videos, but in the labs, when I enter the commands live, you'll see me using the shortcuts a lot. Anyway, the service password encryption command will encrypt all passwords in a jumble of numbers and letters, so that they cannot be easily read. If I enter the show running config command again, notice that the password CCNA has become 08026F6028. The password itself hasn't changed. It is still CCNA. Only the way it is displayed in the configuration has changed. Also, you may notice that a 7 has appeared before the password. This number 7 indicates the type of encryption used to encrypt the password. The number 7 means it is using Cisco's proprietary encryption algorithm from the service password encryption command. Later in this video, you will see another number in that place. While using the service password encryption command is more secure than not using it, it's still not very secure. In this screenshot, I simply searched for a Cisco Type 7 password cracker on Google, found this website, and was able to crack the password in a few seconds. The good news, though, is that there is a more secure enable password that can be used on Cisco devices with a tougher type of encryption. The more secure method is to use the enable secret command instead of the enable password command. This time I used a password of Cisco with an uppercase C. Once again, this is case sensitive. Then I view the running configuration once more. However, since I was still in global configuration mode, I typed do in front of the command, the enable that can be used on Cisco device, instead of the enable password command. This time I used a password of Cisco with an uppercase C. Once again, this is case sensitive. Then I view the running configuration once more. However, since I was still in global configuration mode, I typed do in front of the command. This is a convenient trick that allows you to execute in global configuration mode. I typed do in front of the command. This is a convenient trick that allows you to execute privileged exec mode commands like show running config or show startup config in other configuration levels. Also, notice I used shortcuts, sh instead of show, and run instead of running config. Now you can see the enable secret in the running configuration. Notice the number 5 before the encrypted password. Number 5 indicates MD5 type encryption, which is much more secure than what we got with the service password encryption command. It can still be cracked. No password is invincible, but it's much better. Also, notice that the enable password command remains. It isn't replaced. However, if both the enable secret and enable password commands are configured, the enable password will be ignored. Only the enable secret will be valid. One final note. The service password encryption command has no effect on the enable secret command. The enable secret note. The enable password will be... However, if both the enable secret and enable password commands are configured, the enable password will be ignored. Only the enable secret will be valid. One final note. The service password encryption command has no effect on the enable secret command. The enable secret is always encrypted, whether or not you entered the service password encryption command. So really, you should always use the enable secret instead of the enable password, as it is more secure. Now I want to show you one more thing in the CLI before we move on to the quiz for today's video. That is, how you cancel or delete a command that you entered. That is done by typing no in front of the command. For example, if I type no in front of the service password encryption command, future passwords will no longer be encrypted. However, as you can see here, passwords which are already encrypted will not be decrypted by disabling service password encryption. If I enter a new password, however, it will be in clear text. If you enable the service password encryption command, Current passwords will be encrypted. It is always encrypted. If you disable service password encryption, current passwords will not be decrypted. They will remain encrypted. Affected. Once again, it is always encrypted.
موتناش الصاروخ بده يموتنا الجوع. احنا بالنسبة لنا في الخيم.
Let's review all of the commands and such we've learned. Mode or hashtag. Sign. Next is indicated by config in brackets plus the hashtag. Now let's review some which is used to enter global configuration mode. Next is enable password, which configures a password which encrypts to privileged exec mode. The next command is service password encryption, a panel to protect privileged exec password, as well as other password, which is lets you run it in global configuration mode. Show running config, which disconfiguration files are all used write memory for 45 console port.
What kind of cable is used to roll over?
USB cable. The answer is devices, rollover cable. Switch and switch to a Cisco device via shows the wire into the console of a Cisco USB cable. A rollover cable is this pin 7 to enter A server router.
You
However,
to enter privilege exact mode on your however the password generation. What could
password
be the problem?
B service password answer.
Caps lock is on.
Incorrect. Even if you the enable secret command. B the enable password command. About your answer.
Most secret mode to protect access to privilege. Enable secret.
Is a plain text password. The enable secret command. As it can be checked. The enable more secure. It uses secret command. Secret command are configured.
If both enables, what will happen when you use enable to enter privilege exact mode?
Word followed by the enable secret. E. You must have to think about your answer.
Enable secret only.
The answer is C. You must enter the enable secret only. Never be asked to enter both. So C. You enter the conft command to enter global configuration mode. What is the full-length version of the command?
Configure terminal.
Configuration terminal. Configure terminal. Thing you have to do. The first is review flashcards. Thanks for watching. The links in the.
Thanks. Anki. Document learning. Day 4 flashcard. Enable secret blah blah blah. Parity is 0 or none. Okay, Cisco service password encryption used type 7. Enter global configuration mode. Configure terminal or conf. Configure an unencrypted password to protect. Enable password blah blah blah. Use the to remove a configured command. No. Lowest level mode in Cisco IOS. CLI. Okay. What kind of cable is used to connect? Rollover cable. What two configuration files are kept on startup configuration and running configuration? Slim 9600. Uses type 5 encryption. View the available command. Question mark. Startup configuration. Show startup config. Show running config. Privilege exec mode. Enter privilege exec mode. Enable. Privilege exec mode is indicated by what? Hashtag. User exec mode greater than provides access to view privileged global configuration. Exec mode again. Lowest level mode in Cisco iOS. User exec mode. What two kinds of console ports are common on Cisco? What two kinds of console ports are common? RJ45 and USB. Yeah. Good. You used the block keyword to execute privilege in global config. Run. Do. Default Cisco data bits 8 bits. Stop bits 1 bits. Encrypt current and future password on the device. Enable secure password encryption. Return to privileged exec mode. Exit. If service password will currently decrypted, no. In Cisco is complete access to the device. Privileged exec mode. Flow control 0. Global is indicated by what? Router. Global configuration. Oh, router. Open bracket config and then hashtag. Western can be used to save the configuration. Oh, write memory, copy, running config, startup config. You use the to execute privilege in global. Do. Encrypt current and future password. Enable password encryption. Service. What kind of cable is there? RJ45 rollover. Encrypt current and future password. Service password encryption. Parity 0 or none. Service parameter is 7 encryption. Use the keyword to remove a configured command. No. Enter global configuration mode. Global. Conft configure terminal. Uses type 5. 9600. Configure MD5 encryption. Enable secret blah blah blah. View startup configuration. Show startup config. What to startup config and running config. What two kind of console port are common? RJ45 and USB. Configure an unencrypted to protect privilege exec mode. To protect unencrypted password to protect privilege. Enable password. No. Enable password blah blah blah. Lowest level mode. User exec mode. Enter privilege exec mode. Enable. Data bits 8. View developer command. Question mark. Flow control 0 or none. Running config. Show running config. User exec mode is indicated by what? User exec mode greater than. Privilege hashtag. Complete access. What mode? Privilege access exec mode. Return to privilege exec mode. Exit. Default Cisco stop bit 1. You use it to execute in global configuration. Do. Global is indicated by what? Router config hashtag global. If server is removed, will run decrypted? No. Encrypt current and future password on the device. Surface password encryption. Write memory, copy running config, startup config. Good. Okay. Let's do the lab.
Welcome to Jeremy's IT Lab. This is a free, complete course for the CCNA 200-301. If you like these videos, please subscribe to follow along with the series. Also, please like and leave a comment, and share the video to help spread this free series of videos. Thanks for your help. Let's get started. In this lab, we'll finally get hands-on in the Cisco iOS CLI, the command line interface. If you've already watched the Day 4 lecture video, you should be able to complete these tasks on your own. Even if you can, I recommend watching this video or lecture video. You show iOS CLI, the command line interface. If you've already watched the Day 4 lecture video, you should be able to complete these tasks on your own.
Okay, let's do it. Change the host name of the router into the appropriate name. R1 use. Okay, let's do this. CLI. No, I will do the switch first. CLI. Switch enable. Use the hostname command in the global configuration mode. Conft hostname SW1 exit. Configure an unencrypted enable password CCNA. Exit exit enable CCNA. Yeah, so running. Okay, ensure current password and unencrypted. Surface conf surface password encryption, and then show running config. Do show run config. Okay, good. Configure a more secure encrypted password of Cisco on both devices. Enable secret Cisco. Do show run. Okay. Exit and then exit and then enable Cisco. View the password in the running configuration. Show running config. What encryption type? 5. Enable password 7. 5. Shift right memory and then exit. Enable conf enable secret, enable password CCNA, enable secret Cisco, hostname R1, hostname, right, exit, right, exit, enable Cisco, exit. Yeah, okay. File save, close. Yeah, easy.
So it's on device. Connect a PC to the client that the encryption used in the service password encryption command isn't very secure and can be cracked, but this at least renders the password safe from someone simply glancing over your shoulder. Step 6 is now complete. Step 7 is to configure a more secure, encrypted enable password of Cisco. That can be done with the enable secret.
Berapa ini? Ya, karena sudah mau buka streamingnya, kita stop ya. Bye bye, thank you guys.